Get the Friendo Club set up today and get access to over 700 Going In Raw bonus episodes, our monthly Big Blue predictions challenges, and the ability to ask questions at Going In Raw. We also offer the Steven Larson comic book and exclusive Friendo Club t-shirt. Just hit join here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson to sign up. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
Welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. Of course, it's Wednesday, which means it's time for us to take a look at your hot takes. Do you think these takes are hotter or colder than whatever you got in that mug right there, Larson?
It's coffee. This is warm. It's not hot. It's
Afternoon
warm. It's
coffee.
warm.
Afternoon coffee. Bold choice.
Yeah, sometimes it ends up being a good idea, but often I regret the decision.
Well, let's see if Triple H would regret the decision that he made by putting CM Punk into the main event of night one, because the Beans 410 has a hot take that says Punk being handed the main event is the worst storytelling beat of the Triple H era. If Heyman could just write it in there, why would Punk even compete in the Rumble or the Chamber? What say you, Larson, is the worst story beat? This one?
I'd have to think about the worst. I feel like there could be worse than this one. I'll say this. At the least, this needs to be addressed. Like when Seth makes his next appearance, he's got to call out Punk for being a massive hypocrite, for taking the main event spot from people who have been in the roster for the last 5 years or longer, and inserting himself in the main event spot and taking it away from other competitors who've been full-time wrestlers, with the company for a long time. Because that was one of the things that Punk had a beef with when he left, was part-timers coming in, getting the main event spots, as opposed to full-time roster members. So it's got to be addressed.
That would be interesting.
Because I thought about this today. I'm like, Punk kind of comes off as a hypocrite.
Yeah, traditionally he has, though. I mean, that's what, because he runs his mouth a lot. People have been passing around the quote, they have been for a while now, but the old quote, good luck main eventing your 2-for-1 special, whatever the line was back in AEW. And, it's like, the guy's, he was working for the rival company, making a lot of money over there. So, of course, he's going to take shots. That's nothing new in pro wrestling.
No.
Wherever you're working at, you take shots at the other guy.
Yeah.
So I don't really take issue with that.
No.
But this idea that he's taken the spot from somebody else, they're trying to frame it like this is his own boyhood dream. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Look, number one, you could look at the first couple weeks of this Gunther and Jey Uso feud and look at, a couple story beats from that are worse than this, but maybe this is more egregious on a grand scale according to the Beans here. I will admit, I will say this. I'm not going to say, because the way that it was executed, which sometimes is kind of everything.
Yeah.
Heyman getting down on his knee and bringing Punk to tears by telling him, you're in the main event, you're closing it out, I thought was a great way to go, because it was a great moment. When you step back, though, and realize that Punk didn't have to work for this, he just brawled his way into it. You pick a fight with Roman Reigns, if you pick enough of a fight with him, you're going to end up in a high-profile spot. And Roman not being able to be night 2 main event means that he's going to be night 1 main event. That was what I gathered anyways, whether it was Roman Reigns pulling the levers here with Heyman, or just the fact that, hey, you're with Roman Reigns, that means you're in the main event because I'm not going to be anywhere else, of course. Whether it's one of those two things, Punk sort of stumbled into the main event. And he didn't earn it necessarily beyond his resume of being CM Punk. And I guess Punk can then point the blame at Seth Rollins if, dude, you could have left me alone and I wouldn't be in the main event because you've got this thing with Roman. So I don't know. There's a number of ways they can address it. I just wonder how much in the minutia, in the details, they're going to address Punk possibly being a hypocrite, Punk's path to the main event. What can Seth Rollins now do to prevent that, if anything? Because if he prevents it, he's out of the main event.
Well, I mean, they already announced that it's going to, that on, what was it, Raw this week, that it was going to main event night one. They said main event, WrestleMania Saturday, that match. They advertised it as the main event.
Right, but I mean, we already knew that on SmackDown because that's
yeah.
But
I mean, I guess given how that segment closed on SmackDown, where Punk says, "Hey, this is great and all, but this isn't the favor I'm owed," I felt kind of left the door open, even though Punk signed the contract, left the door open to something else that maybe through whatever story mechanics they thought of could have, although it wouldn't, precluded that match from main eventing night one. Once they advertised it as such, that's a sealed deal. They ain't changing that.
I see what you're saying. So your thought is Heyman said you're closing the show, and that didn't necessarily put the stamp on it, but them actually advertising it does.
Because of how the segment ended, where Punk said, this isn't the favor I'm owed. But he signed the contract. It's signed. It's done. And that's the main event. It's been advertised as such. So I remember I believe they said closing WrestleMania Saturday. So that means it's the last match. So
yeah, sure.
It's the main event. You can't really go back from that now.
Right.
So then the added stipulation of whatever Punk's actual favor he was looking to cash in, obviously still up in the air. I assume we will know at some point between now and Mania. It might even be right before the match or even during the match. Don't know. But I thought that left the door open a little bit until they said this is closing night one. That's another aspect of it that until that's addressed, I'm not going to say, well, this is the worst. It needs to be addressed. If this is just the story beat and Seth doesn't bring it up, and whatever the actual favor that Punk wanted is, if it's underwhelming, whatever, then it'd be like, all right. Again, it's a situation where I feel like there's times where there's a story that could be told, and sometimes Triple H be like, all right, let's tell that story the next 9 months. And sometimes he's like, let's tell that story the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And sometimes it really needs that middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a hot take coming up later on, which might explain in part why they're having Punk in the main event this year. In fact, we should just get to it because it kind of dovetails with this.
Well, hold on a second. Let's just the original hot take here, the worst story beat. Irregardless of how it went down or what the situation was, and if we'll ever figure out why it went this way, I think you and I can probably agree that Cody Rhodes coming out and acquiescing his or giving up his Mania spot to The Rock.
That was worse.
That was way worse.
It was
confusing. It didn't make any sense at all. And then they had to backtrack because it didn't make any sense. So that is way worse.
Way worse. Lord Blake Whitehouse here at the Hot Take says Rumble 2026 being in Saudi Arabia is already affecting this year's WrestleMania booking because Punk is not working the Saudi shows. So if the idea is Punk needs to earn a main event spot at WrestleMania via winning Rumble or Chamber. Now, of course, he could always win the Chamber next year, earn a main event that way. But, I don't know if next year's Rumble has any bearing on the decisions they're making this year. As far as who main events what, I don't know. It's an interesting idea to bring up.
Number one, I don't expect this to be the case. He could change his mind on Saudi Arabia. You're getting paid, and I hate to be this cynical about it. And it doesn't even need to necessarily be that heavy. We all know he called it Saudi blood money or whatever it was. But it's like if he looks at it in the same tact as like Sami Zayn approaches it, he can backtrack on it. He can say there's positive things to be gleaned from WWE's participation in Saudi Arabia. Would he be called a hypocrite by a lot of people? Yeah, probably. I don't even know where I would stand on it. It's his business, and that's what he would want to do. And I don't, what I have to think about it, I guess probably doesn't even matter. But he could do that. And it wouldn't shock me. It would surprise me, but it wouldn't shock me. He's now being put in the situation where his return is wildly successful. And part of that is the possibility that he's going to be contending for the main title and possibly even winning a main title. And if that's the case, that might conflict with his prior statements about Saudi Arabia, and he'd have to reconcile what matters more.
Well, and there's an alternative in that there's the chamber following the Rumble.
Well, I'm talking big picture, though, because if you're going to be the champion, like, how are you going to get out of Crown Jewel being champion versus champion if he becomes champion and that intersects with that time? If the Saudi Arabia government says...
That's assuming they do Crown Jewel.
Oh, yeah, I know. But I'm just saying from a general perspective, if he ends up winning the title, which I don't even think is, like a guarantee, certainly
not at all.
But if he does, that's a decision that he's going to have to make. And I honestly don't think it would take too much of a stretch for him to turn around on that. I just think that there's, I hate to be cynical about it, but people can go back on what they say. They do that all the time. And if he finds personal justification, whether it's legitimate or not within his own morals, or it's just a matter of like, hey, they're paying me a shit ton of money. I got to say something about this, so I'm going to say something about it. And then people will get over it within a couple weeks. Kind of believe that's the case. That being said, for the sake, like you said, of conversation.
Yeah, in terms of next year's Rumble affecting whatever they book this year in terms of WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, the Rumble being in Saudi Arabia, that does pose a bit of a problem. But there is the chamber. And, as we've seen with Rhea Ripley, she didn't win the chamber, nor did she win the Rumble. It looks like she's still going to WrestleMania as a challenger. Now, yeah. I know the situation's different. She walked in as champion, lost the title, et cetera, but they were able to write around it. So I don't really think it's that big of an issue regardless. I think it'd be a bigger deal if he became champion. They wanted to keep that title on him for a while, and Saudi Arabia is, twice a year. I think that's probably a bigger deal.
Yeah, that would be an issue too. That would be an issue.
But getting him there, I don't think would be that big of a deal.
The Ghosty 99 has a hot take.
Hot take.
Says Cena should not win number 17 ever. It's a way more interesting story to see him sacrifice everything, sell his soul, only to fail to get what he desired most. And it's the most poetic end to the career of a guy who everybody criticized for winning too much.
That's a very romantic way of putting it. And it's completely and totally wrong. Of course he's got to win number 17.
Well, he doesn't have to.
Yes, he does. Larson.
No, he doesn't have to.
Larson, he has to. He has to, and he will. So, yeah, of course he has to. Absolutely.
No, he doesn't have to. Him saying he will is different than saying he has to. He doesn't have to. Because I think there's an interesting story to be told with Cena giving up everything to get number 17 and falling short of it repeatedly. He gave up everything for what? Ultimately, nothing. And how devastating would that be for the character of John Cena? And then his redemption arc, I don't know, could potentially be all the more poignant because I gave up everything. Now I have to build John Cena back up. I think there's a good story to be told there. I don't think he has to win number 17. I think there's plenty of good story material to mine if he doesn't.
I disagree. I feel like it would all be unfulfilling. I think it would be for nothing if he had, because what would the ultimate, okay, I sold my soul, I got nothing out of it. I get you on that one. The symbol of redemption is the title.
Yeah, he'd have to win it as good guy again.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but that's it. I mean, there is no other way for that to have
I should say heel Cena does not have to win. That's what I should have said.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
Well, yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that he could, I think that there is an interesting story about heel Cena not winning, but face Cena's got to win it by the end of the year, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The way this is written, though, if this was, dude, look, if this was an A24 film, man, then I think that what you got going on here could possibly work, because there's some really amazing movies that simply just, it ends in tragedy. But dude, pro wrestling, that's not it. That's not what this is. This is John Cena. And for him to turn face, unless, dude, and here's the other aspect of it. As much as hey, who's a bigger Triple H guy than me?
Nobody. Well, Triple H, that's it.
Whoever's putting together the Triple H Hall of Fame.
Like I said, Triple H, that's it.
He is not, I'm sorry, maybe HBK would be, but he is not an adept enough storyteller to tell a satisfying story where John Cena has his redemption without winning the title. If he sacrifices himself so that Cody can win it again, or Punk, or I don't know who, like that would be the only story I think that could work, is if he somehow sacrificed himself for the greater good of somebody else.
Yeah.
But I don't think they know how to tell that story.
And probably not.
I don't know who's out there that he could tell that story. That would have to be Cody, but Cody doesn't need that shit. He's the most protected guy they got. I know. If there was a Daniel Bryan situation here, maybe.
Yeah.
But for him to get his redemption, the prize is the thing, the championship's the thing.
But I like the idea of so much of Cena's career defined by lull Cena wins, and he scratches and claws and in desperation tries to win that title and just can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something interesting there. As you said, do I have the faith in WWE Creative to tell that story in the most effective way possible? Absolutely not.
I think, the bottom line is Triple H just thinks of these, and I think rightfully so, to be honest with you. I just think that, could that be told in prestige television? Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Could it be told in the world of pro wrestling? Not with the people running it now. Not with John Cena. No, I don't think so, man.
So, as we were talking about Triple H being #1 Triple H fan, just got an email from WB Shop. 3 decades of dominance, Triple H celebrates 30 years.
I'm there right now. I'm heading there right now, man.
All right. You can go peruse the new gear. There's literally a shirt of him just spitting water.
Oh, look at that. Look, and it's like black and white and gold. These are all terrible. I'm going to do a Wrestle Juice on this. Anyways, let's go ahead to the next.
Let's do the next one.
Thank you, WWE. I was trying to figure out what Wrestle Juice video to do today.
You got content now. Next one here is from the Dr. Professor. Hot take. Gunther's feud with Jay has been his best feud as world heavyweight champion. It has the defining moment of his reign there with the beatdown of Jimmy.
That is a hot take.
I can't think of a single moment prior to that during Gunther's world title reign that's felt as weighty and as important as that moment.
I absolutely agree with that. This moment of his has been the crowning moment. Yeah, it has been.
What are you going to say? Otherwise, it's him calling Damian Priest street trash?
No. For half a second, for half a moment, something in my brain fired off where he was holding the Crown Jewel Championship, and then I remembered he didn't win that thing.
No, Cody beat him.
Cody beat him for that thing. Dude, let me flip this a little bit and get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
Speaking of my other project, Wrestle Juice. I had a hot take on there the other day. Somebody said Gunther's house show opponents would have, had they been on television as feuds, cleared any other title reign in recent history.
That's interesting.
Because he's had CM Punk.
Yeah.
He's had AJ Styles. He's had Ilya Dragunov. And, Chad Gable. He's already had Chad Gable. But yeah, like his house show opponents, like even Punk and AJ Styles, as feuds and pay-per-view matches.
Yeah.
Add to that the Crown Jewel stuff and maybe even the Damian Priest stuff. And you've got yourself a killer run there, and they only run those on house shows.
That's strange. I mean, I get the Punk one. That was what, a Chicago house show they did or something like that.
There's been a couple of them. They did a steel cage at so Rosemont, Illinois. Yeah. They did in Ireland. They just did Punk. And I thought, didn't they? They didn't do Punk at like Madison Square Garden or something like that.
No,
Maybe
isn't that when he came out in the shower cap and towel though, or was that a different house show?
Yeah, I don't know. But no, I feel this one. I mean, yeah, it sort of just speaks to like Gunther's feuds have been lackluster.
Mid.
They have been.
Yeah.
They don't treat that title like a proper thing. I think
No.
even like the Randy Orton one, it was like, you've done a lot of great things,
but you could have done more great things.
Yeah,
like dude's a 14-time world champion.
14 times.
How has he not lived up to his potential?
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, and I mean, in terms of like, given that they've all been kind of crap, but like, in terms of, this is definitely the biggest moment. Okay, let me ask you this then.
Sure.
If it wasn't for this past Monday, what's been his best feud? And in a sea of mid feuds.
Wow. So it's been Priest, Randy, Sammy. Did he feud with Sammy for the world title again?
Did he feud with Sammy yet? When did he win this thing? Let's see here.
He won at SummerSlam last year.
Here we go. SummerSlam. So what do we have here? Boy, oh boy. He beat Dragunov there. Did Gable at house shows? Did he do it? Did he have a Gable thing or no? That's
not
just
on
house
TV.
shows.
I don't believe. No.
Jesus, a lot of nothing, to be honest with you. Yeah, Damian Priest, Priest, Cody for the Crown Jewel title.
Yeah, the Cody one.
Randy. Yeah, whole lot of nothing, dude.
Yeah, not much.
I mean, out of the Randy and Damian one, we did get the phrase street trash, didn't we?
Yeah, that's true.
That was a pretty shocking moment. Before this moment, that was the most shocking moment.
Yeah, that was the defining moment of Gunther's world title reign.
It's not very good, Larson. Anyways, before we continue on with these hot takes, quick reminder, of course, it is April 2nd, which means we have the big WrestleMania Predictions Challenge coming up starting in 17 days. WrestleMania Night 1, Stand and Deliver, and then WrestleMania Night 2. And, of course, speaking of Gunther's house show opponent, CM Punk, we've got the CM Punk Signature Series bootleg from Pakistan on the line for the WrestleMania Predictions Challenge. Also, WrestleMania hat, which I got to order that, but I've already designed it. It looks great. So if you want to participate in the huge predictions challenge, just go to patreon.com/Steven Larson, click on the Friendo Club setup, or click join right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Let's go ahead and dive into our next hot take, Larson.
Let's do it. This one's from Oh No, It's SCP. Says here, hot take.
Hot take.
We are living through the best pro wrestling has ever been, accessible and with plenty of options. I agree with this completely and fully. If you're a pro wrestling fan, you can find something you like. And if it's not in WWE or AEW, there's a promotion somewhere on this planet that does something that will appeal to you. And it's not like something you have to trade tapes to find. You can find it somewhere relatively easily. I think the quality of what we see on a weekly basis in ring, never been better. I think the talent level is as high as it's ever been, if not better. Yeah, I mean, this is peak pro wrestling era I feel like we're living in right now.
I don't disagree with anything you say, but for the sake of conversation, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Given that you and I are advanced in age.
Yeah, we're old.
Is there something to be said, dude, for the journey of discovery? For living, let's say, in the mid-1980s, and you get your regional promotion. Let's say you're living, I don't know, the Mid-South area, the territory, right?
Uh-huh.
So you get to watch that stuff. And then let's say also, you're also aware of WWF, obviously, but then you've heard of stuff back on the West Coast. You've heard of Portland here and there, Canada, Lucha Libre. You've heard about this stuff, and you get an After Mag, and you're like, oh man, people have VHS tapes, and then you pop it in, and that excitement level, that like, oh my God, what's going to be on this mysterious tape that I just got? What's going to be on here? Is there something to be said about not feeling so damn connected to everything, having lived through, obviously, look, when we were kids, I know you were a tape trader when you were in your, under 10s. But like, when I say that, I mean, you used to go to the video stores and rent them. But is there something to be said about that experience versus, yes, having a sea of wrestling available anytime, anywhere, right now?
I wouldn't say one experience is better than the other, because I think you still have that. Because, for example, say 25 years ago, where internet existed, you could still read up about things, but obviously no YouTube, not as much video outlets available on the internet to get your wrestling content. Therefore, you still had to search for it.
And if you did see it, it'd be like this.
Yeah. It would be really small, it'd be like 140p, real player quality.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for reading about something, searching it out, and then finally finding it, and then getting that opportunity to watch it. But that's not like that doesn't exist now. It's just a bit more immediate. You can still read about something. I'll go to YouTube and see if it's on there. It's not? All right, I got to find, some other place where it might have what I'm looking for. That still exists, and yeah, it's much more immediate and maybe in some ways satisfying on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still there. I mean, how many times have you read up on something, whether it be related to movies or music or wrestling or anything, now versus 20, 25 years ago, and you still have to search for it a little bit. I mean, with music, obviously, a lot of times it's easier because basically it seems like everything's either on Apple Music or Spotify. But I've come into instances where I read about something that's like, I can't find this anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing even in the world of wrestling, that still happens where a lot of stuff is more readily available. It doesn't mean it's available within, a couple clicks of your keyboard in one, search.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff you still have to really search for.
Yeah.
And I think the same experience or similar experience is there, even though overall things may be more immediately available.
I think if given the option, I don't know that I would choose how we used to have it back in the day over today. I think I'd probably still want things to be as available as possible. That being said, I do remember going to, back in the college days, picking up the almanac, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Almanac.
Yeah.
1999 or 2000, whatever it was.
Oh, we looked through that so many times. Yeah.
There is something special about that.
But if I came across... For example, I remember I came across someone made a playlist of the best matches from the Kings Road era All Japan. All just right there.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And it was great to find that because, rather than having to search all that stuff out, and have it curated for you, it was there.
Wow.
And, back in the day, say you got those wrestling almanacs, say you got one from, 1994, and they're talking about all these great matches in All Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And, good luck being able to find all those readily. It might take you years.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
To find all that stuff. Whereas now, if I dedicate a few days, I can watch all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not like the sense of discovery is in any way really diminished. Just because it's more readily available, I don't feel like.
Yeah. 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 Just thought it was an interesting
I think of all the times back in like the late 90s, early 2000s where I go to Tower Records and buy a CD, hoping it was good, listen to it, like, nah, let's go back, take it back. 'Cause back in that, no wonder Tower went out of business. You buy a CD, listen to it, and just get it back, get your refund, full refund. And going that route and doing all the transactions as opposed to having a place where it's easily and readily available. And like for a lot of people, just the barrier there of having to purchase something.
It was not without its downsides, obviously.
Yeah, because even if you're trading tapes, you got to buy a tape, you got to pay for postage. There's a cost associated with it.
I remember going to a couple of years ago down to L.A., seeing the Enforcer, and we went to Frank and Sons, the big swap meet type thing. And it was a lot of fun just going and not even looking for anything specifically. It It's just, ooh, I want to see some stuff that like might be obscure or whatever. And there was a lot of cool shit there, comics and whatnot, but bootleg shirts and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a different experience. Both has its pros and cons. But yeah, there was something about living back then. I feel like a little bit nostalgic. Bam and I have been watching Stranger Things, and they do a killer job of like, recreating that sense of the 80s, what it used to be like back then. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the next one from Shotgun Sean. He says, starting from now, WWE should say whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets a title shot, not to main event WrestleMania.
Now, this isn't the first year where a Rumble winner hasn't main evented WrestleMania. Yeah. It's happened a few times before.
Mm-hmm.
But given that there's 2 nights of WrestleMania, at least one of the Rumble winners should main event one of the nights, I feel like. If you want to have the extra bit of prestige and importance placed on the Rumble. Because you could say, well, the best stories should main event both nights. Well, you can write a good story for the Rumble winner. It's all scripted stuff.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm like trying to figure out where I even stand on this, because what you're saying is true. However, this year, it was just sort of like cooler that John Cena lost at the Rumble, had his moment of panic, and then had to join up with The Rock, and he won the Elimination Chamber. Like,
it's understandable.
That story beat, I feel, was more powerful than had he simply won the Rumble, because we have to write the Rumble winner to main event WrestleMania.
And I totally understand that. I understand that.
So
I'm not saying there's an easy answer to it,
I feel like the easy answer would be to do what Shotgun Sean is saying. Mm-hmm. Stop saying you get a main event spot. Yeah. Just acknowledge that you don't. Just acknowledge that you don't. Or, I'm sorry, acknowledge it by not saying it.
Yeah.
You don't have to come out and say, oh, you no longer get that. No, don't do that. But saying the winner of the Rumble is in the world title match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think that's good enough.
Yeah, that's an easy fix.
Because like, I don't know. I don't feel like Kofi Mania is diminished in its moment, in the impactful moment, because it wasn't in the main event. And we had a whole count out yesterday talking about the top 10 Mania. And there's obviously a whole list of, Rock versus Hogan was not the main event, but it's the most memorable match from that show. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the most memorable matches in the history of WrestleManias. So it doesn't necessarily mean, and the bottom line is if you're hot, you're hot, and that's sort of the thing these days at WWE. They have so many different acts that they've been able to build up to a degree where Roman Reigns, how does Roman Reigns not make the main event? If he's not in a title shot, he's got to make the main event. That's how Punk gets into that main event with Roman and Seth and all that. So I don't know, man. I understand. And I feel like, yes, WWE should stop calling it the main event. The Rumble winner gets the main event. They should stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's just wrong. Like it's not true.
No, it's not. It's not.
Why would you advertise that?
Yeah. Next up, hot take from
Mew 464.
Mew says Cena during 2013 to 2017 legitimately was a good in-ring wrestler.
Yeah, he was a great in-ring wrestler.
Except for that, someone commented to this hot take, and I agree, except for that stunner he tried to do back then.
Oh, like the springboard stunner?
Yeah, that
I'll go one better. I forget what year this was, but when he had that weird punch.
Yeah.
For he was trying to do for the finish. No, you can go back, and whenever he had, you can go back to the CM Punk match. There was sort of the caveat where Cena couldn't bring somebody to a 4.5-star match or whatever. But he could definitely hang with people, because that AJ Styles match was phenomenal. The CM Punk back in 2011 match was phenomenal. He did have a good stretch. 2013 and 2017, yeah, whatever that was.
Yeah.
That dude could put on some matches. He could go.
Yeah.
He could definitely go.
Yeah. No, his series of matches with AJ Styles are fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whether Cena could consistently elevate himself someone to a 4.5-star match, who knows? But you put him in the ring with a really good wrestler, and he delivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely.
No, I don't disagree with this at all. Anthony Lovelace here with the hot take says Bianca Belair continues to show that she's the most complete women wrestler in the world and is having the best career of any WWE product since John Cena. There's literally nothing she's not capable of doing at a high level. Plus, she has mainstream appeal.
This is an ice cold take.
Bianca's great.
I know she's got her detractors, and I think that's mainly to do with her booking. But I've also seen silly things like she doesn't have a character. I'm like, she's one of the most fully realized characters there is in WWE.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know about all that either. I mean, I don't know. I guess the criticism is, and we've seen that a little with Rhea this year or over the past year. She wins too much. And I understand that, when WWE finds somebody they like, they protect the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And they see Bianca as a Cena type who will probably be doing a lot of Make-A-Wishes. But she's really goddamn good across the board at everything she does.
She is. She's an exceptional talent in every way, in every single way. And she does have a ton of mainstream crossover appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, she's great. She
Cold
is absolutely
take.
great.
Cold take on that one. But there are people that need to hear it.
Nick, my hero here, says bad WrestleMania bills never ruin their matches. They only make bad matches much, much worse. But think how much the good matches could be better if the stories leading up were more effectively told.
Yeah.
Like a bad bill might not take away from a good match.
Like the Rhea Charlotte build apparently wasn't good. I don't remember much about it leading up to 39. I remember somebody mentioning that and being like, yeah, maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember it being great. It was all Rhea saying, I need to get my win back. There was that one segment that there was like a pull-apart brawl where Charlotte was wearing like a Volt kind of like bodysuit. Mm-hmm. And Rhea comes out and they get into a brawl, pull apart. And that was like the real defining moment of that feud. But that's all I
doesn't sound very memorable. But the match was phenomenal. So wait, what does this hat take? Bad
Mania bills don't ruin the matches. They only make bad matches much worse.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Disco Ball, you'll like this one, Steve. Disco Ball here says, I love the Triple H Hall of Fame packages because I think this will be a continuing theme for all the headliners of Hall of Fame classes under Triple H. We just didn't get to see it last year because it was Heyman as the headliner. What are they going to show? Some of his promos?
I mean, they could have, yeah.
Yeah, they could have. They could have showed promos, him working backstage, him doing commentary, like the everything in ECW. Mm-hmm. I think it's optimistic to expect the headliner each year going forward to get extensive video packages. I mean, we haven't seen it thus far under Triple H. This is the only time I could think of, as long as I've been aware the WWE Hall of Fame exists, that we've had this level of video packages for one person being inducted.
Who do you think is going to be inducted? Who's going to be the headliner next year? You've mentioned Batista before.
Maybe The Rock.
Oh, if it's The Rock, he's going to get the Triple H treatment.
He's going to get a lot of video packages, yes.
He's going to get, yeah.
I don't know if he's going to get one a week, though.
He'll get one. It's the, dude.
I don't know.
Okay, look past The Rock.
Undertaker didn't get a video package a week.
Who's after The Rock? Let's say, okay, let's do this for the sake of.
Oh, dude, it'll be John Cena after The Rock, because Cena's retiring.
He'll get this. He'll get it. He'll get the Triple H treatment.
I don't know if he's getting video packages every week, man.
He's gonna get them, buddy. I think this is true.
Think
about who could potentially be after Cena, after The Rock, possibly CM Punk. He'll get weekly video packages. Orton will get weekly video packages. Roman will get weekly video packages. I think so. I think this is probably true.
I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
Fair. Well, hey, remember this moment. We won't.
We will.
But remember this moment.
We will.
You know. It'll be next year on like video package number 2 or the week after video package number 1. We'll know and we'll remember this shit.
Yeah, I know.
Remember Triple H had it every single week.
Wait, they give The Rock 1 2-minute video package 2 weeks before the Hall of Fame ceremony? That's it?
Not, dude, when The Rock goes in, man.
Well, he's on the board. That's different.
Oh,
he's the director of the board,
He's the director of the board. He is the director of the board.
He'll have 10-minute video packages, I guess, every week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll probably double up. Yeah.
Time for the Indulgent section of the show.
I love the Indulgent section of the show.
All right, C Machine here. I don't know what basis there is for this hot take.
This is, yeah.
It says Larson is a better basketball player than Steve.
We've talked about this before.
We
both
have our strengths. We both have our weaknesses.
I feel like in the history of our gameplay, I've probably won, I would say 65% of our games. I think I've got probably that on you. I have a better shot. You got better handles. I think that's where we're at these days. I think we could be honest about it.
Yeah, probably. I don't know about 65%, but I mean, I would get you'd probably have the advantage. I don't know.
I think 65 is all right. I think 65 is probably. It's right, between 60 and 65.
We can start keeping track starting tomorrow. How about that?
I ain't keeping track. I kept track for a while, and then I was like, why am I keeping track anymore? I don't care anymore. I proved my point. 65%.
Oh, there we go. Bulletin board material.
Okay. Enough.
Get swept tomorrow, Steve.
Hey, and you know what? If I do, that's okay.
You say that, you're going to be slamming the ball on the ground.
I don't slam the ball on the ground. I do not kick the ball either.
You do slam the ball on the ground. You don't kick it. That's me.
I slam the ball on the ground if I blow something that I'm pissed off of myself about. But losing a game, I do not slam that ball. Nor do I drop kick it.
I drop kick it because I'm mad because I beat myself.
No, I know. We never get mad at each other necessarily. Anyways, Gregory Faea says, as a 25-year-old, the best Pearl Jam song isn't even by Pearl Jam. It's Last Kiss, which was a cover from a song from the 50s. I love their cover of Last Kiss. I think it's terrific. I don't think it's their best song, but I appreciate that Gregory here appreciates that cover as well.
I wonder for certain listeners if they're more aware of Pearl Jam because of that song, because it got a good amount of radio play.
Did it? I wasn't aware of that.
As opposed to say anything off 10 or Versus.
Oh, maybe. That could be.
Because that was later in the 90s for sure.
Was it? I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember what year they recorded that.
I know the song very well. But yeah, no. You know what, man? I'm much more apt to go along with this one.
Oh, 1999.
Than I am saying that, their best stuff was post 2004.
Oh, who would think that?
Probably people out there.
I guess so.
What do you think Edge's favorite, Adam Copeland's favorite Pearl Jam?
Oh, he's old like us, so he probably likes the early stuff more. But here, I'll ask you this. We've heard anecdotally of people who got into Star Wars during the prequel trilogy, and because of that, that's Star Wars to them.
Sure.
Is there an analogy there with Pearl Jam fans who got into Pearl Jam with that album with the avocado on the cover, and for them, that's prime Pearl Jam?
I ain't never heard of those people. Because here's the thing about that. They stopped doing music videos and they stopped doing... So, They did music video for Do the Evolution, 98. They did.
Todd McFarlane directed it.
That was the only music video they did. It was the first music video they had done since 10, because they didn't do any for any of the other ones. That was an outlier. That was just to work with McFarlane.
I wonder if they did any after. I'm just not aware of.
They remember they were heavily doing the live DVDs. They had like an entire tour where every show had a live DVD.
Whoa. Apparently they've done 24 music videos.
I know of 4.
So after Do the Evolution, wow, they did half of the Riot Act album.
Really?
Yeah, 6 videos off that. Oh, Worldwide Suicide. I remember watching that video.
It wasn't simply a live performance?
No. I think it was a live performance, but they released it as a music video.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
But I mean, like, still, that's not out of the norm for music videos, is to record a live performance and release it as a music video to MTV. I'm not saying it was a live performance recorded with the album version of the song. It wasn't a live recording captured.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, that's a bit different. Yeah. That's a bit different. Yeah. If they did that.
They had 2 videos for what is this? The Avocado album, maybe. 2 in 2006. They had some live stuff. 2 in 2013. A bunch in 2020. 1 in 2022, and 1 in 2023, and 1 in 2024.
Okay, I'm trying to find like on their YouTube channel. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm just going by what Wikipedia here says.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Anyways, I don't know how much those would have gotten in rotation. My point is this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure those people exist. I'm sure there are people who, found them post-binaural and were like, oh, man, this is great. I don't know how significant that audience is.
I don't know either. I don't know.
I'd be pretty surprised, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
There's a lot of people on this world, so it's possible there's people that discovered them post.
I'm sure there are people.
Binaural.
Just like as a percentage of total Pearl Jam aficionados, greater or less than 30%.
Oh, less.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from too.
I think much less.
I'm like 15%.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say 15. Yeah, that's the number I was
now,
going to say.
comparatively speaking, that same percentage of people that were into Attack of the Clones, and that's Star Wars to them.
Oh, I think that's much higher.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. We're on the same page.
I got one more grunge hot take here from Gabriel. Says Super Unknown is the best grunge album, and it's not even close. How do you define? Hold on. We gotta come to an agreement on a definition of grunge album.
Oh boy, anything from Seattle. That's what you said before. That's your own words, and it made me laugh. So I said anything from Seattle.
Yeah, I know that was because back in the early '90s, I saw they were marketing some records. It was just like bands from Seattle.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's what I was referencing there.
Yeah,
are we just talking alternative rock from the early mid '90s?
You know what, man? I'll help you out here.
I think that's a pretty broad definition.
Anything or anybody affiliated with the Big Four. Let's just start there. I know there are other grunge acts. I get that. But, adding in Temple of the Dog, adding in the single soundtrack. Mudhoney. Right, yeah. Yeah, you can expand a little bit. So they're the ones that are the most obvious ones. I don't even know if Super Unknown's my favorite Soundgarden album. I think I might like the ones before that and the one after that. What was the one before Super Unknown? That was
Bad Motor Finger.
Bad Motor Finger. Bad Motor Finger. Let's see here.
It's got Rusty Cage and Outshined on it.
Yeah, it's got Drawing Flies on there. Oh boy, that's a good. But I mean, look, Super Unknown's great too. I mean, that's why I was always like more of a Soundgarden guy than an Alice in Chains guy. But I love Dirt. Dirt's phenomenal.
Super Unknown is to Soundgarden what Metallica's Black Album was to what preceded it. It took everything they had done and kind of focused it and streamlined it.
Yeah, I can see
in a way that made it a bit more. I don't want to say more mainstream because it makes it sound like it was a commercial move, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I'd put In Utero up there pretty high.
Yeah, I would put Dirt and Utero up there pretty high.
And Dirt. And then like I got the nostalgia thing for 10, but I've just heard that so many damn times.
Yeah, I don't really listen. Apart from Deep, and maybe why go and listen to that album at all anymore.
I'm a big fan of Mad Season as well. So, I mean, I don't know.
I'd say Super Unknown squarely in top 5 for me. Grunge albums.
I could see that.
Depending on one's definition of grunge.
I could see that.
Now,
list.
For the sake of conversation, we have time left in the show.
Do we?
Maybe we can end the show whenever we want, but...
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Not grunge album. Say the grunge era, so from like 91 to 95.
Okay.
What in your estimate? It doesn't have to be grunge. It's when, alternative rock really came to the fore and became mainstream pop, and somewhat popular. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the best album of that era?
The best album between 91 and 95?
And why is it the Breeders' Last Splash?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
That's a fantastic record.
I listened to that not long ago.
It's so good.
It wouldn't be in mine. I don't know. Dr. Dre's The Chronic.
Great record.
That would maybe be mine. I
Great
don't know.
record.
Boy, I don't know. It'd probably still be In Utero. Probably. Boy, it's a good one.
It is.
Well, they followed up. Never mind with that.
I know.
Got Steve Albini in there.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. I'd probably consider you would. Where were the Breeders out of?
Well,
Back
I mean,
east?
yeah, I mean, like,
Boston?
the Pixies were from the Boston area, although Kim Deal's from Ohio, I believe. So I guess they might be based in Ohio.
Yeah. Oh, dude, of course, obviously. It'd be Frank Black's Frank Black.
Oh gosh, how can I forget?
No, it'd be Teenager of the Year.
At least we didn't get anybody saying the Candlebox was best grunge band, so there's that at least.
I'm sure there are people out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people out there. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.